The weaponized Wuhan supervirus has arrived to the San Francisco area. It has arrived to the core of the beast system. It has arrived to the core of this dark matrix. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be getting into the latest information on the Wuhan crisis, the outbreak of 2020. Undoubtedly, it's going to be historic out there. This is Stranger Than Fiction News, broadcasting live on this ScrewTube Beast System network, hacking the Matrix, if you will. And it seems like reinforcements have arrived. The Wuhan supervirus is about to break out, unleash, go on a rampage out there on the West Coast. And many people right now are just kind of like pretending like everything's okay. You haven't seen the videos. You haven't seen the real videos. We were, watching the TV reports, the network reports on what's going on out there. Oh, it's just honky-dory. They're just showing you pictures of them building a new hospital, but they're not showing you all the people dropping dead. Countless videos. It's martial law out there. Everything's locked down. It's not honky-dory. Their stock market took a huge hit today, and who knows where this may lead, ladies and gentlemen. The whole beast system might collapse due to this outbreak 2020. Did they see it coming? Did they release this outbreak, or is there something else going on? You need to know, ladies and gentlemen, and they don't want you to know. That's how you know you need to know, because this mafia of a TV system and social media, this whole beast system doesn't want you to know the real dangers of the situation. And they're they're calling everything, panic or fake news, but the video speaks for itself. We don't even have to narrate this. We could just play the video, clip after clip. And we've seen clip after clip, millions of views. We've just put them all together for you so that you can, get an idea of what's going on. And in the news today, they admitted that, in fact, now they're burning bodies. They're banning funerals. There's no telling, how many people have been killed. There's no telling what the true death rate is of this weapon of mass destruction. And we're getting reports that right now, ladies and gentlemen, it's like Minority Report out there. And people are having to line up to the windows as the drones come in to measure their temperature. We're also getting reports that medical staff are using trash bags as hazmat suits, if you will. And they're pleading for help. And as the world stocks go down in medical supplies, this outbreak is starting to spread. And you'd probably be surprised if you could actually get, a mask once it goes out of stock at your local pharmacy or wherever. They're not going to restock the gas masks or the face masks, the surgical masks, none of it. Get them while you can out there, ladies and gentlemen. Because when you look at how they're adapting to the situation out there, I mean, it's, masks 24/7 and everybody's trying to get out. That should tell you something is wrong. Everybody's trying to flee. And the fact that they're suppressing this information on the news is dangerous. It's dangerous. I haven't seen this level of lying and misrepresentation in the news business since, they went after Trump. It's the exact same thing. The way they're going after Trump over every little thing is the same way that they're treating this current situation. And now it's on our shores. And virologists, are looking at the rate of replication. How fast is this particular virus replicating? And we're seeing the cases just explode. And we're seeing the first journals, case studies in the medical journals as far as, what this virus really is. And so we're going to run through a couple models with you and kind of forecast the weather. We'll see how accurate these models tend to be, but the math is rather simple. And so we're just going to cover that with everybody out there live. How's everybody doing out there? Anybody out there? Like and share, mirror this content, get everybody over here. Let them know where we've landed. They're trying to, censor us once again. And everything, that we put up is coming along with restricted access kind of tags, You got to be 18, you got to sign in, we got to be able to track you. We got to know what you know all the time. We'll take a look at this. Projected cases per week based on rate of transmission. So in the range that we're looking at, most likely, is that this thing will have a R0 of 2, 3, or 4. Which means that, one person will infect either 2 people on average, one person will infect 3 people on average, or one person will infect 4 people on average. And so you can almost look at this as magnitude, a magnitude 2 or a magnitude 3, hurricane, earthquake, outbreak. And so if we're looking at a magnitude 2 outbreak, in the first 4 weeks, which is like the blue, we're seeing basically, just a handful of cases. And, only 20% of those cases are going to be severe. And so they're going to show up to the emergency room right now at the peak of flu season that's killing a lot of people and, causing a lot of pneumonia and the like anyways, right? So, to actually, for a physician to actually kind of translate, something significant in that kind of noise is going to be difficult. It's not going to be until these cases stand out in the crowd, like they're all wearing MAGA hats or something. It's not until all of these cases start standing out that, physicians are going to start running additional tests and the like, or the coronavirus kind of tests. And so, there's going to have to be a certain threshold that's crossed before, local hospitals are going to even understand what's happening. And right now, some hospitals, especially in the big cities where this is probably going to show up first, they're dealing with thousands of cases per week, just of the flu and pneumonia and the like. So you got to start thinking about the numbers. We're right now at week number 2. Week 2 is concluded. We think that the first seeds came blowing in mid-January. So we're now beginning of February. We're starting week 3. And essentially, we don't know exactly how many seeds have blown into the big cities, but, the numbers are rather large right now. We're talking, we could have between 500 and 2,000 people that have come into the country at the height of the epidemic, spread out across the country. So what we're going to see is, in fact, little flare-ups in every city, most cities, before it starts expanding into, a mushroom cloud, if you will. And so, it's startling news, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? How's everybody doing out there? Like and share, get everybody over here. This is Stranger Than Fiction News, broadcasting live. The weaponized Wuhan supervirus has arrived in Silicon Valley, Sinicon Valley. The heart of the beast system, the core of the network, has been hacked with the Wuhan supervirus. It's going down. It's just begun, ladies and gentlemen, according to most models and forecasts at this stage. And right now, we're at the beginning of week 3 of the U.S. outbreak. And literally, it could be, week 4. We're going to have to be at least plus or minus a week, mid-January, the beginning of the outbreak. And they're just getting, the people that are willing to turn themselves into, ICE and the hospitals and the like. You can't imagine how many people, are hiding underneath the radar, and perhaps even some malicious people trying to super spread this, like we've seen in Asia. So this was the beginning of the crisis, and you could see, every day, each slide is a day, the numbers are expanding. It's going, it's going vertical. I think we've got another real disturbing graphic. Comparing it to SARS, it's totally gone vertical. And the last reported days, we're seeing this outbreak continue to grow. And again, they're burning bodies. There's no funerals, no official records. You can't, you can't take the numbers that they're giving you as actual numbers at this stage, especially with their economy now just taking a huge, smack. They're going to be like, everything's fine, come to China. You know what I mean? And all the videos are just going to get shut down. They're going to hit the switch, and nothing is coming out. But what has come out over the past, few days, it's like body bags, dead people everywhere. And it's like a Resident Evil, nightmare, quite literally out there, ladies and gentlemen. And to see the news, like every channel, NBC, ABC, CBS, I mean, the only videos they show are like people getting scanned or them building a hospital. But they don't show you like any of the body bags. If they've shown you like one video since the beginning of this outbreak, that's pretty much it. And we've seen, countless people just drop dead right there. And, the reports from the locals are much worse than, just a few hundred people. I mean, even like on day one of the lockdown, it was like 100,000 people are infected, run for your lives, right? And, now we're hearing, the crematoriums are on full blast and they're just burning bodies and no funerals, no records, no idea what's going on. But this shit's coming to you. And they're like, hey, enjoy the Super Bowl and all of that stuff. Think how many people got together over the weekend, at the bar, at the sports bar and whatever. Oh, huge super spreader events. I mean, this weekend, the Super Bowl weekend, will be remembered as, a game changer in this outbreak. It's almost assured. And we were trying to, warn people, don't think that we're all just kind of like gloom and doom, Sodom and Gomorrah is getting what it deserves here, ladies and gentlemen. There'll be time for that. But, we were trying, the days before, as soon as we thought of it, like, oh shit, the Super Bowl is just going to make this so much worse. Well, that's when they started censoring. And seeing how they're playing this all down and they're like, hey, look the other way. I mean, these people are part of the setup. I have no doubt that this is going to be like another 9/11 where they stand down, they let all of this traffic in, and then they're like, oops, you better vote for me, we'll help you out, that kind of thing. Problem, reaction, solution. They've got this thing planned out and mapped out, ladies and gentlemen. I have little doubt about that. And so what we're seeing now, it's all about the setup. I mean, these people couldn't be more disingenuous. They couldn't be more your enemy. It's as if, it's worse than if the Chinese or the Russians invaded together. What we got in this country right now, the pestilence, the viruses in DC right now and on TV, is worse. They pretend like, oh, they're here to help you as they roll out the death towers and, enable the censorship. And they're like, yeah, we need your guns. Have a few little red flag laws, put on your little red hat, come vote for me, or it's Commie Sanders. What you going to choose? Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, if that's not a setup, you know what I mean? You always like the con man, but that's besides the point. This beast system is out to get you. They're poisoning the food, the air, the water. We've been telling you this for years, and now they're unleashing the fucking super virus. And what are people going to do? These death towers are making the situation worse. Studies since the 1970s have proven that EMF attacks white blood cells. It suppresses the immune system and the like. You've heard about the leukemia and the high-powered transmission lines. Well, it's the same thing, but in Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? And so these death towers, this Wi-Fi, it makes everything worse. Even the common cold is, much more of a killer than it ever used to be. And this is, perfect for them because people just write it off like they got the flu. It's funny. People call it the flu. They don't even know what it is. They're like, it's the flu. What does that mean? What's the flu? Tell me what you think the flu means. Most people think they catch the cold because they're outside in the cold. You're still dealing with a lot of people like that. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised what you find out there, in sheeple land. And look, I mean, people have no idea what's coming their way, but looking at the Chinese, they're like, they're acting like this thing escaped the lab. I mean, you couldn't script this better for a Hollywood movie if no matter what you did. You know what I mean? And it's like they've just shut everything down, roadblocks everywhere. Don't come outside. The drones are going to scan you, all that kind of stuff. Everybody's got to have a mask on. That's your new world now. What are you going to do then? Go take a selfie with your mask on? Look at me. So, yeah, this is obviously going to be, a developing nightmare. But in the meantime, right now, this thing is just, landed in Silicon Valley, not far from Facebook headquarters, not far from Google headquarters. And you can bet it's these people from Hollywood that have brought this disease to our shores. They brought us AIDS back in the 80s, and now they're bringing us the Wuhan with their new world order. And, they've just plugged everything in so nice so that something like this can happen and it just burns like wildfire. This could have happened in any major city, any lab, and all of a sudden, boom, it's like around the world like Fukushima in 24 hours. And what you gonna do? And the TV's like, oh, here, come check out Sideshow Bob and The Simpsons and all that shit. They'll always, put on a show on the television. It's nothing but a distraction. It's nothing but, a control mechanism when you think about it. It's all about control. And as soon as you start, breaking through, it's like they live. All of a sudden, they're just shutting everything down, and you got to hack, the matrix. Free speech is gone in America. It's a tragedy that we had to see this during our generation. The generation where, people watched America get murdered, no free speech, no privacy, everything's fucking gone. It's like, Big Brother everywhere, and now they're releasing Resident Evil, and it's blown right back into their, community. You thought it was bad already looking at, all the homeless people and the situation. And these drones are now like spraying people. You thought the chemtrails were bad. Now the drone is coming at you. And they're going to start spraying people wherever you go. It's going to be the new hello out there. Let me spray you, take your temperature. We're going to, ask you to please grab your ankles so that we can fully inspect the situation. You better bring some Astroglide, because this new world order, they're not kidding around, ladies and gentlemen. It's a cult of death, and the more blood sacrifice they can, put on the altar of the devil, the better it is for them. That's their religion. And the sooner people wake up to that, the better we'll all be. Because pick your government, it's part of the secular world. It's part of the physical world. It has nothing to do with, anything good. And for more information on that, be sure to check out the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's worth your time. They got it on tape. Know it better than your favorite song. You won't regret it, ladies and gentlemen. But getting back to the big news, right now it is Resident Evil out there in China. It's like the end of the world. Body bags everywhere. Funerals have been outlawed, and bodies go straight to the crematorium. This is mainstream news. We've tweeted this from like Bloomberg or something on our website, stfnreport.com. And all of the news reports, it's coming from, the journals of medicine, scientific, research publications, or mainstream media. And then they come across, and they're like, oh, what are you talking about, the AIDS virus? Everybody should just go look right now and see how they're treating this new outbreak with their HIV drugs, right? And tell us that this is an airborne AIDS just blowing in the wind. Not to mention that the gene map of this virus and all forms of this virus include these magical insertions that were never there before, cut and paste, and they fold together to turn into some kind of like AIDS super spike on this virus. And everybody agrees that it's there. They're just like, oh no, but it just evolved that way. 4 different regions. Are they shitting me? 4 different regions that fold in 3-dimensional space to make a super spike, as microbiologists are calling it, and they're going to say that's just some kind of freak of evolution all of a sudden? That looks weaponized. And whether they did it in a lab or in some kind of rat, look, this thing is a bioweapon. It's out there, and it's 2 or 3 weeks ahead of everybody else. Now let's get back to this graph here. We were talking about simple math somewhere along in this presentation. We better get to it because this really is going to tell you something about the waves that are coming. And we've included R0 or R0 at 2, 3, and 4 magnitudes, which means that one person spreads to 2, or one person spreads to 3, or one person spreads to 4. And so it's simple math. If one person spreads to 2 on average, then the first week you have 2 people, then the next week you have 4 people, then the next week you have 8 and 16 and 32 and 64, right? So it's kind of slow, but it's gradually building. And over a 4-week kind of time scale, the blue, especially even further down, 8 weeks, 2 months, you hardly see the blue out there. And this outbreak in China took 2 months to basically get to 10,000 cases. So we're probably looking at something between a 3 and a 4 magnitude bioweapon, spreading right now in America. And they're like, watch TV, here, let's talk about the Super Bowl, really, for real. These people, you just couldn't make this stuff up. They're there to distract you and to waste your time and to make you dumb so that you can never escape the maze that they set up for you, the PSYOP maze, the psychological warfare maze. But getting back to what this means, if this is, if this is a 2 or a 3 magnitude, in 4 weeks, and we just finished week number 2. At 4 weeks, we can expect somewhere between 30 to 100 cases wherever the seed has blown. So, and we're talking probably like, 1 seed per every other city in America right now on average. But let's just say that, we're looking at something like that. So we're at we're starting week 3. We've done 2 weeks. Mid-January is what people are thinking is ground zero, is the starting date of the epidemic in America. So we're now starting week 3. Okay, so right now we should be expecting, say that there's like, 1 case in Chicago, right? So in Chicago right now, theoretically, there should be, between, let's just say, 10 and 20 cases, 30 cases. Only 10% of those are going to develop into severe pneumonia. So this guy walks into, the emergency room, thinks he's just got the flu. There's, hundreds of people there. They all got the flu and pneumonia-like symptoms. You're basically trying to pick out one guy out of 100 pneumonia cases right now that actually has this virus. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. The week following, so week number 4, which would be, sometime next week, we can expect the numbers to be somewhere between 30 cases and maybe 80 cases. Again, we're looking at the 10% rule here. 10% will show up at the emergency room. It's still going to be at the height of the flu season, perfectly timed. Now they're looking to catch maybe 1 to 3 people out of 100 that may present symptoms of this virus. That's still really bad. It probably won't be until week 5, which is going to be basically 2 full weeks from now, just on average. There's cases where it could be sooner, there's cases where it could be later. But we shouldn't really statistically expect to see anything show up in the emergency rooms like that would be noticeable for another 2 full weeks. Now, this is if it's category 2 or category 3. I mean, I hope I'm not boring anybody out there with my little graph. But it isn't going to be until, probably, even further down the road than that before we realize just what happened. And all of a sudden, this thing is engineered so it just goes off like a nuclear weapon, and it just blows, everybody away. Let's look at the current cases in America and suspected cases that have survived since the beginning of this outbreak. And we can see that we've jumped now to 11 confirmed cases. And, we got quite a bit of action on the West Coast reported so far. Vancouver, Everett, San Francisco, Santa Clara, Bay Area, LA, Orange County, and Arizona confirmed cases. We got a suspected case in Colorado, suspected case at Texas A&M University in Texas. That's bad news. Suspected case at Tennessee Tech University. Yeah, you can't even imagine how many students, how many universities, how many different places right now. You know, it could be that, you know, we're a week ahead of schedule. We could be seeing, you know, a huge, you know, spike in outbreak cases, you know, next week. But I wouldn't be surprised that we wouldn't see anything for 2 weeks. And if this thing is like, you know, 10 times the killer than people think it is, because they're burning all the bodies and they're censoring all the information because that's like the new thing to do. You know, we could be looking at some super virus, you know, spreading right now that's got a 30% kill rate. And even at 10%, look, there's 350 million people, plus or minus, in America right now. We could be looking at 35 million people, like severely slamming, you know, the hospitals in the weeks to come. And so they may have, you know, some of the HIV meds, they may have some of the, you know, influenza meds, but you can bet that if you're not a party member or rich enough to buy their, you know, new cure, you're not going to get it. So all the poor people and all the people that are just basically Republicans and conservatives, you're going to get the placebo. You know, you show up to the hospital now, oh, they already know you're a conservative thanks to Facebook. You're going to get the placebo. Oops, no, we tried. But the libtard, the one that's transitioning into, you know, something else, oh, they're going to get, you know, they're going to get the primo treatment. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, because of course they're in the big cities and everybody else, you know, outside of the big cities are going to burn. Just like, you know, what they've been doing in California. We got a ton of cases, suspected cases possibly out there in Ohio. Tons of schools have just shut down. It's made the news. And, you know, they're saying it's just the flu. But the flu, even the flu is much worse than it ever was these days, thanks to EMF radiation. And this is this has been well documented in studies since the 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010s. EMF, electric fields, suppresses the immune system. You know, the white blood cells don't like it, and they have a harder time doing what they usually do. And what that means, what that equates to, is that people are just going to die from the common cold. More people are going to die from the cold. More people are going to die from, you know, secondary infections, really, because the EMF towers are the disease. And, you know, it's kind of like AIDS. You know, you don't die of AIDS, you die of something because of AIDS, like pneumonia. Most people with AIDS get pneumonia. What are most people dying of due to this virus? Pneumonia. And we know that this has got AIDS code in it, HIV code in it, and it attacks the white blood cells. It attacks the immune system. That's you know, one of the cells of choice. And so you can absolutely suspect that, you know, these people are out to get you, ladies and gentlemen. And that, you know, this Wuhan supervirus is a hybrid that induces AIDS-like, you know, pathology in its victims, as well as spreading around like the flu. It's like, you know, a mix between the flu and AIDS, and you know, they put it into a coronavirus so that it'll last longer on surfaces, undoubtedly. So, you know, this should be kind of like a wake-up call to everybody. We need people to mirror our content, and we're now offering free internships if you want to learn how to, you know, be a super spreader of truth or information out there. We'll give you a crash course on how to do it. But we need interns. We're looking for interns. If you're interested, please let us know. And, you know, we're willing to, you know, school a bunch of you at once. And you get an opportunity to, you know, harass me every once in a while. So it's, you know, it's an internship. It's a free internship. I won't charge you. And I'm not going to pay you either. But look, I mean, this isn't exactly the March of Dimes. We don't get the sponsorship from, you know, the beast system. Nike isn't buying ads here on Stranger Than Fiction News, can't imagine why. So, you know, yeah, we're not paying anybody, but we do need your support. And if you can't intern with us or the like, then do make a donation so that we can continue our research and fund more information awareness campaigns / operations in the future. Because it's, you know, it's literally like hacking the Matrix. People have no idea what it's like being Ron Johnson out there, but it's a fucking war. And look, I think a lot of people feel the heat right now thanks to this beast system, and it's only going to get worse as they track you and deny you anything and everything they can out there, ladies and gentlemen. But we're talking about projected rates of transmission, magnitudes of this outbreak. Is it a magnitude 2, 3, or 4? And, you know, those numbers just keep going up. Now, H1N1, the swine flu, was somewhere around 1.5. That was a 1.5, all right? And this one is, you know, they say easy 2.5. You know, most news publications right now are admitting to 2.5. But in the medical journals, we've seen ranges all the way up flirting around 5. And, you know, with the rest of the information that we're getting, such as the real short incubation period, I mean, that means this thing can flare up fast. And all of a sudden, you know, one super spreader can hit 100 people just like that. And all of a sudden, those 100 people are hitting, you know, each 2, 3, 4, 5 people, you know, just days after that. And not only that, but these people are shedding the virus at least 14 days after initial infection, according to the most recent journal publications, which means that this virus has the advantage of quick infections, quick flare-ups, quick series, as well as longevity in terms of sustaining, you know, whatever kind of, you know, isolation period, reasonable isolation period. And you know, if this is an engineered strain, it wouldn't be, you know, unimaginable that this has been engineered so that it'll stay, you know, with the victim 3 weeks to kind of, you know, circumvent a 14-day quarantine, standard practice. And it probably stays on the surface, you know, 2 to 3 days, if not more, under the right conditions. And of course, those conditions, you know, vary. But usually temperature, sunlight, and the like have a huge impact on viral, you know, longevity in the open environment. So this is a truly disturbing virus from just about every standpoint you look at it. And I mean, it has, like, you know, all the features that you would want for a bioweapon. That's what, you know, that's what's troubling about this particular, you know, strain. And initially everybody was like, yeah, it came from the wet market. It came from the wet market. And even today, you know, they're publishing, you know, reports saying, you know, the initial cases were, you know, at the wet market. But that's only the Chinese that are saying that now. Everybody else is saying that the first 3 cases had nothing to do with the wet market. And the wet market got infected, you know, shortly after it started circulating and became kind of a hub for infection, but it wasn't the true source. So they're saying it's bats and, you know, whatever. But early on in this outbreak in the news, you probably saw the initial reports about the Wuhan weapons lab being just like a few miles away from the market in the same city, really. So it's like, you know, Chicago's got a market and it's got a weapons lab, and there's an outbreak in Chicago. Which are you going to blame? Oh, the wet market, right? Especially when this thing exhibits like every feature of a bioweapon. For sure, it's got to be the fish, it's got to be the rats, it's got to be the bats, it's got to be batshit crazy, because it's certainly not the weapons lab right next door. So now the question is, you know, was this, you know, who's responsible? And like we said, it looks like, you know, what's happening in America right now is similar to 9/11. Everybody's standing down, looking the other way on purpose, and they're just, you know, waiting for this thing to blow up. And that means that we're looking at, you know, another new world order, you know, genocide, another new world order eugenics program, like the fluoride, like the vaccines, like the death towers, the cell towers, and the like. So, and look, it's so bad over there right now, they're wearing trash bags as hazmat gear and making their own masks. They're out of everything. That means that as soon as it hits over here, nobody's going to be able to resupply because all the supplies are gone. The reserves are gone. We're basically, whatever they can manufacture. And that's going to go down as, as isolation and containment goes up. So we're looking at a real bad situation out there, ladies and gentlemen. We're not trying to underestimate this by any means, and I don't think anybody should either. And what I find most disingenuous with the television right now is that they're not showing you even a fraction of the videos that are out there. And I even saw one, jack off go, we don't even see any videos. If it was a big deal, you would see the videos, you would see the body bags, and they're all over the internet. And it's like these people on TV are pretending like the internet doesn't exist. Like they haven't seen these videos. Everybody's seen these videos. And, this is just a fraction of what's going on. This is only a sampling. But, we must have captured at least 40 or 50 bodies just in the videos that have come out, and they want to say only 300 people have been killed. You got everybody running for the hills, and they're going to say, oh, it's okay. And that's what I find like super suspicious about what's going on right now, is they're being so disingenuous. It's almost like they got this smirk, like, you remember those Georgia Guidestones and you knew about it and you didn't do anything? Well, this is what you get. Complacency kills. Once again, we have proof of that. And, here's another thing. You got the Elon Musk Death Grid coming online in just a few months. It's going to be blasting everybody with the 5G high energy beams. And I mean, this is bad for everybody. People are just like, so dumb looking at their cell phones right now, not caring about how that, information travels the airwaves. You should care, man, because this stuff's a killer. And they got the perfect scheme right now, because since it weakens the immune system, they make it look like it's the flu. It's the flu that got you, or it's this new virus. And who knows how many people they're getting rid of right now, over there. But they're not keeping records. They're just burning the body bags, according to the mainstream press now. And no funerals, no nothing. And, if you're not part of the big club, then you can bet that you're going to the incinerator. Once again, they've turned our cities into a concentration camp. And now they just, kind of veil it with the illusion of, well, it was an accident and we did everything that we could. It was just the flu. Don't worry about it. Go back to shopping. Or next time it'll be you. And they're serious, man. They're deadly serious. It's a Jonestown cult. And once you realize that this is what's going on, you're gonna give up, like, the sports television, the sports networks and the like. I mean, you're just gonna give it up. You're gonna be like, look at these people, man. They're like serial killers trying to get everybody. And it's for real. It's for real. And the television, the tech companies, they're just part of this big control grid. It's like the front lines protecting, the demons or whatever that are behind it. Absolutely convinced that this is the case. And, we've covered this in our series, The Dark Matrix. Check out our video archives. Again, feel free to mirror our content, like and share. We're looking for interns, free internships here. We'll share what we can. We need people out there uploading, mirroring, and we'll teach you how to make your channel go from 0 to hero in no time. But we need more people out there. We need more hands on deck. And we need folks out there to support our broadcast, support our research. Check us out at patreon.com/STF News to assist in our research over there. There's no freedom without capitalism out there, ladies and gentlemen. And, we need our listeners' support to continue on in our endeavors, just like every channel, but we're not selling you advertisement. We're not selling you articles of the beast system. We will sell you an EMF meter that we find that blows away the competition, the EMF 390. You really want to know what you're getting dosed with. It's kind of worse than Fukushima out there, according to the scientists. And it's all part of the slow kill. Look, they took a microwave oven, they put it in a different box, and they called it Wi-Fi. They both transmit at 2.4 gigahertz. You're getting nuked out there, and it's actually pretty sad that we got to actually convince you of that fact. just like the fluoride and everything else. You know, it's like, oh, we have to convince you of what's like a total obvious fact. What do you do, you know, in life, really? I hope you're not responsible for anything. But if you are responsible for something, start organizing people in your town, start getting people together, you know, be on Truth Patrol out there, and, you know, do something, man. Start going to city council, start getting people organized against these death towers and the like. And, you know, that's step one. Get the fluoride out of the water, get the sadists out of the schools, take your town back, take your city back for starters. And then you can start talking about, you know, state and federal elections, which are totally rigged. But if we don't change this, you know, from the grassroots up, it's never going to change. Breaking news, the weaponized Wuhan supervirus has just, you know, invaded the San Francisco Bay Area. We're getting numerous cases now from California. And, you know, that's the core of the network. That's the core of the beast system. And now all of a sudden they got a weaponized supervirus in their town. And it's like, you know, they don't even know what's going on. But the simple math will tell you that we shouldn't expect any big, you know, waves for another 2 weeks at least. And we'll try and bring back those graphics. But, you know, depending if this is a magnitude 1, 2, 3, or 4 kind of outbreak, you know, the numbers are going to differ. And given what we know about this virus, it's, you know, it's probably going to start out closer to the 2 or 3 and kind of grow in strength like a hurricane based on, you know, various factors. But it'll get stronger, it'll grow with time. And if it starts out in the magnitude 2 metrics, which is still, you know, way above H1N1 swine flu and the like, we won't know. We won't be able to make the noise out in the emergency rooms for another, you know, 2 weeks. We've just finished week 2. They think everything started blowing in mid-January. For sure, mid-January, we started getting cases blowing in, showing up everywhere. And so there was at least a 1 to 2 week period where things were blowing in, you know, talking about thousands of people coming in every day, sprinkling around the country, right? And so, you know, these metrics are just for one seed making it through. So the probability of just one seed making it through are so high, you know, out of the thousands that came in, that, you know, we're looking at least, at the very least, a city or two that's going to outbreak, you know. And are they going to nuke the city? Are they going to contain it, martial law like the movies? That's to be seen. But I wouldn't be surprised that we have, like, you know, something like that in 2 weeks. We see a couple cities, you know, and then we finally realize what's really happened in China, you know, like 10 million killed or something like that. And it's like the worst thing ever, and they should have told us, but they couldn't, and blah, blah, blah. You know how the song goes, right? So that's why we've been spending the last, you know, 10 days or so just talking about this, because right away it just, you know, it had, you know, quite a few red flags, and the timing just couldn't be worse, really. And it's like, surprise, 2020, you know, the New World Order is back. And this is what you get for not locking these people up. And so honestly, you know, we should be holding everybody accountable. And of course, the system is so rigged. I mean, you know, your choice now is between Commie Sanders or the Don. You know what I mean? And it's like, look, you can like them for whatever reasons, but that doesn't mean that these people are on your side. They're not on your side. You know, all of these, you know, politicians, all these people on TV are part of this beast system that's looking to assimilate you, exterminate you, and ban the Bible. And look, California banned the Bible, and I don't think anybody's going to be surprised if they get hit the worst. And you know what? I don't think a whole lot of people, especially not in the Midwest, are going to be, you know, crying about it unless it starts, you know, coming home. And I think people got to start thinking about, you know, what the Chinese are doing to survive right now. They're locking, you know, they're ready to cut off roads to the West Coast. And I think if the shit gets real out there, people better start getting on their bulldozers and cutting off the roads, because otherwise this is going to be your town. And it's not about, you know, political differences, you know what I mean? This is about survival. It's nothing personal. And I think people out there should start acting accordingly. I mean, these death towers are no joke. And what's going on out there in Asia, it's no joke. And it's coming here. It's already here. It's got a head start. That's what they're not telling you. This thing has been here for a while. It's already past week 1, week 2. We're now in week 3. And by week 5, you know, you're going to start seeing the first signs. And 2 weeks after that, it's going to be all over the country. And so at best, you got a month before the shit gets real. And so, more than likely 2 weeks is when you're really going to start seeing it get weird out there. And I wouldn't be surprised if in a week or two, within 2 weeks, that we have a situation that they can't contain and they're forced to come on the news and go, we got a little problem here, but don't you worry. I think most people are smart enough to know when it's time to head for the door. You know what I mean? And you've seen what's happening over there, and you've seen how the TV is like, no, those videos, they don't exist. The AIDS medicine works, but it's not related to AIDS, And the way they're going after people now, they've totally changed their attitude, when it comes to this story. They don't want to cover it. They don't want anybody talking about it. They've shut everything down. Expect the worst. Expect the fucking worst out there. And if it all just burns out and it's no big deal, then, look, we had some fun in the process, right? We learned quite a few things and the like. But if this thing turns out to be a monster fucking super virus, you want to be ahead of this thing as much as possible, not trying to catch up to it, because you'll never catch up to this thing until it burns out, like, terminally, which means, at the very end of the outbreak, at the end of the Spanish flu. So, people have got to be, start thinking about, all sorts of basic necessities right now. Toilet paper, where you're going to hunker down, your exit strategies, how bad does it got to get before you start, doing something. And, just like a fire evacuation plan, I think people should start thinking about that. Start thinking about plan B. Things never go as you're going to plan, for sure, right? Murphy's Law. So start planning ahead. What do you do if that doesn't work out? Where are you going to go? And the closer the better, the more isolated the better. And I would write out like the initial waves. I mean, this is going to come in like a tidal wave all of a sudden for like 2 weeks. It's going to be burning hard. And you don't want to be out there trying to get toilet paper when, it's the worst of the worst of it. So, the key to surviving any type of outbreak is reducing your viral load or your exposure as much as possible. And, that means avoid crowds. And if you get into a situation where you can't avoid crowds, shallow breaths, wear a mask, don't let it get deep into the lungs, And every infection is like a mini war, and it's going to start in your nose or your mouth, and it's going to grow and spread, right? And so you want to try every little thing you can to mitigate that. And the killer with this one is really just like, excess fatigue. You get like mono-like symptoms, and fatigue becomes a big factor, and it starts working on the heart. People are dropping dead, as well as the pneumonia. So you don't want there to be overinflammation, and the like. And again, they're, on one hand, there's a lot of people looking at this, trying to find solutions and the like. But if you get big waves, then it's just going to be, pure chaos at, every treatment facility. And it's just going to be, everything's going to be a nightmare. So the best thing here is to be proactive and not get hit with it. And if you're watching this, then, you must be, the people that will do the best throughout this outbreak. We'll be covering, as much as we can as this story develops. But reduce your viral load, manage your fatigue, be well rested, eat well, don't overexert yourself. This isn't the time to start running the marathon or, partying like it's 1999. Conserve your strength and just, wait to see, if this tidal wave is, anything what it is in China right now. And look, it is what it is. Now, only about, as far as we can tell right now, 10 or 20% of people will come down with severe symptoms. It's usually the older demographic and people with pre-existing conditions, normally diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and respiratory stress, if you will, asthma, whatever. So those are the most high-risk categories. If you're part of that, pre-existing condition group, then definitely stock up and write out as much of this wave as you can. Don't go out there getting exposed. And, if you live in a building with a lot of traffic, you might want to think about, other accommodations. Somebody with a big house and they're all alone, But you're going to want to, group think, group strategy, think ahead and get all the necessities out of the way. Little by little, you'll get a feel for it. But as soon as you start, seeing a glitch in the matrix, run for it. I mean, just grab everything you can, throw it in the freezer, and just fucking, prepare. Literally, that's the news we're getting. And I think that's the best advice. Other people can do whatever they want. Let the sheeple do whatever they want. Let the haters do whatever they want. Let them do their thing. You know what I mean? Don't waste your time. This virus is coming for them. So have no doubt about that. We'll leave it there for this broadcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like and share. Mir, contact us for the internships. Leave us a message here, and we'll try and set something up. Philip James, super interested out there. If you're still listening, much love to everybody out there in the audience. Till the next time, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.